How the Prophet defined Taqwa, the heart's secret radar. Taqwa isn't a costume you wear on the outside. It's an awareness that sits deep in your chest, quiet, alert, and constantly awake. The Prophet described it in a way that feels almost electric. He tapped his chest 3 times and said, "Taqwa is here." That single gesture was enough to tell the companions that righteousness isn't about showing off. It's about the constant conversation your heart has with Allah. Taqwa is the internal radar that warns you before you slip, before you speak the wrong word, before your eyes wander to what harms your soul. It's the ability to sense danger even when no one else is watching. That's why scholars call it the unseen guard. You don't rent it. You don't fake it. You build it. In Ramadan, this radar becomes sharper. Hunger opens a doorway to self-awareness. When you stop yourself from drinking, water something completely halal. During the rest of the year, you're training your soul to hold back from everything else that destroys your peace. The Prophet taught that fasting is a shield, not just from food, but from the fire of sin. It disciplines your impulses like a reins pulling a powerful horse. The companions used to say, "We don't fear the big sins. We fear the small ones that stack up." Why? Because a heart without taqwa ignores tiny cracks until the whole structure collapses. So they guarded their words the way a banker guards gold. Even in jokes, they watched their tone. Even in arguments, they controlled their ego. This is taqwa, a heart so tuned to Allah that even the smallest misstep feels heavy. One of the Prophet's du'as was simple but profound. "O Allah, give my soul its taqwa." Even the messenger of Allah asked for this gift, showing us that taqwa isn't automatic. You have to ask for it, chase it, and protect it. In daily life, taqwa looks practical, checking your intentions, lowering your gaze, avoiding gossip, fixing your prayers, and apologizing quickly. It's not dramatic, it's consistent. When you begin Ramadan with this understanding, every moment becomes meaningful. Every hunger pain becomes a reminder. Someone is watching over me. Someone expects better from me. Someone is guiding me toward him. Ramadan is the month where the heart's radar finally wakes up loud, bright, and ready to protect you from everything that pulls you away from Allah. When the Sahaba feared the sins nobody could see, taqwa isn't built in the spotlight. It grows in the quiet rooms of the heart where nobody claps, nobody comments, and nobody knows what you're struggling with. The companions understood this better than anyone. Their greatness wasn't in their swords or speeches. It was in the way they guarded the unseen corners of their souls. They feared hidden sins more than public ones. Why? Because a public sin embarrasses you immediately, but a private sign can rot your heart while you still look perfectly religious on the outside. Abdullah ibn Madid used to say, "A believer sees his sins like a mountain about to fall on him, while a sinner sees his sins like a fly on his nose." That sentence wasn't poetry, it was their reality. They treated their hearts like fragile glass, terrified of even a hairline crack. One companion once said, "If the people of Medina knew what I hide inside myself, they would not even pray behind me." This wasn't self-hate, it was self-awareness. They were constantly examining their intentions, checking their motives, and questioning their own sincerity. It's what kept their hearts alive. Ramadan was their audit season. They didn't just fast from food, they fasted from ego, lies, laziness, envy, and the small slips that no human eye could catch. Umar ibn Khattab used to walk through the night checking on the Ummah, but he checked his heart even more. He would ask himself, Umar, are you doing this for Allah or for people? That internal questioning is the foundation of Taqwa. When they spoke, they measured their words. When they acted, they checked their intentions. When they felt anger, they suffocated it before it escaped. Hidden sins were their biggest enemy because they knew the heart is a garden. One weed can destroy 1,000 flowers if ignored long enough. The scholars who came after them inherited this mindset. Imam Malik once said, "The heart that hides sins will eventually show their effects on the face." They believed that a single secret act of disobedience could drain the soul of light, and a single secret act of worship could fill it again. If you want to build real taqwa this Ramadan, start where the Sahaba started, inside. Fix your private life. Repair the hidden rooms nobody enters. Purify the thoughts nobody hears. Protect the weaknesses nobody knows. Because the sins people can't see are the ones that shape who you truly are. This is how they lived, quietly, humbly, always aware that Allah sees what the world cannot. Ramadan, the divine training ground for the soul. Ramadan wasn't sent to make you hungry. It was sent to make you aware. Allah designed this month like a spiritual training ground. Every hour, every craving, every moment of restraint is part of a larger curriculum meant to build taqwa from the inside out. When Allah said, fasting was prescribed for you so that you may attain taqwa, He wasn't talking about the body. He was talking about the battlefield inside the heart. When you fast, your habits slow down. The noise inside you becomes clearer. You start noticing the impulses you usually obey without question, the irritation, the scrolling, the gossip, the urge to argue, the laziness that whispers. Skip the prayer. Nobody will know. Ramadan exposes all of it. It brings your hidden weaknesses into the light so you can finally confront them. Fasting is divine psychology. It breaks the routine that usually controls you. When you say no to food and water, two needs that sit at the core of survival, you're training the soul to say no to everything else that poisons it. The Prophet called fasting a shield, and shields are not meant for decoration. They're meant for battle. Ramadan teaches you how to fight your anger, your ego, your desires, your temptations, and your inner excuses. The early Muslims understood this. They approached Ramadan like soldiers entering a higher level of discipline. Their worship increased, but so did their inner work. They didn't just read Quran, they let it scan their hearts. Like a spiritual X-ray, every verse felt personal. Every command felt urgent. Every warning felt like it was directed at them alone. Scholars explain that this month is structured around 3 pillars: restraint, reflection, and renewal. Restraint breaks your old habits. Reflection helps you understand your mistakes. Renewal gives you a chance to write a fresh chapter of your life. That's why so many people experience turning points in Ramadan. It's a sacred reboot button. But here's the secret. Ramadan doesn't change you by itself. You change because you finally give. Allah access to the parts of your heart you usually hide behind excuses. The hunger brings humility. The thirst brings softness. The quiet nights bring honesty. You start hearing your own conscience again. And that's where taqwa grows, not in loud moments, but in silent victories. When you walk away from a sin, when you forgive someone who hurt you, when you pray even though you're exhausted, when you speak softly even though you're angry. Ramadan trains the soul so that when the month ends, your heart continues to remember the one who trained it. Guarding the eyes, the first gate to taqwa. The eyes are tiny windows, but they open directly into the heart. One wrong glance can plant a seed that grows into obsession, regret, or a lifelong weakness. That's why the Prophet didn't just warn against major sins, he warned against the very first glance. The spark before the fire. He said, the glance is a poisoned arrow of shaitan, not a sword, not a hammer and arrow. Silent, quick, and often unnoticed until it's already lodged inside. Guarding the eyes is not about pretending the world is empty. It's about deciding what deserves a place inside your heart. When you protect your gaze, you're not restricting yourself. You're freeing your mind from chains you can't see. And Ramadan is the month where this protection becomes easier, sharper, and more meaningful. Most sins begin through sight. The Sahaba were painfully aware of this. Abdullah ibn Abbas said that lowering the gaze is like giving the heart oxygen. When the eyes wander, the heart suffocates slowly. When the eyes obey Allah, the heart opens like a calm sunrise. They understood that taqwa begins at the eyes because the eyes are scouts. They travel ahead, gather information, and report back to the heart. If the scouts are careless, the heart becomes vulnerable. In a world overflowing with screens, images, and temptations arriving faster than breath, this teaching carries even more weight. You don't have to go looking for fitna anymore. It walks into your pocket every time you unlock your phone. Guarding the gaze today is a modern jihad, a battle fought every few minutes. But every time you win, something powerful happens inside you. Your willpower strengthens, your conscience sharpens, and your heart feels lighter. Scholars say that lowering the gaze has three gifts: clarity, humility, and sweetness in worship. When you protect your eyes, your prayers feel deeper, your Quran feels richer, your duas feel more alive. The heart becomes sensitive again, like soil finally free from weeds. Even angels love the moment when a believer pulls his eyes away from something forbidden, because it's a silent act of obedience, seen only by Allah. Practically, guarding the eyes means pausing before you look, redirecting your gaze, unfollowing harmful content, avoiding late-night wandering on social media, and protecting your private time. It's 1,000 small decisions that build one strong heart. Taqwa begins with the eyes because the eyes shape the imagination. The imagination shapes desire, and desire shapes destiny. Guard the first gate, and the whole fortress becomes easier to protect. Guarding the heart, the secret weapon of taqwa. Ramadan is not just about abstaining from food and drink. It is about protecting the heart from the whispers of desires and sins. The Prophet said, "Taqwa is here," pointing to the chest, emphasizing that true piety is rooted in the heart. Every act of fasting, prayer, and dhikr is a shield, but it begins internally. Guarding the heart means being vigilant about what we allow to enter our mind and soul. The companions of the Prophet were masters at this. Abu Bakr would constantly remind himself, I am accountable for my thoughts before my deeds. Even subtle intentions, fleeting emotions, or secret desires could sway the heart. So they trained themselves to pause, reflect, and realign with Allah's guidance. Ulama across centuries have highlighted the importance of a purified heart. They teach that controlling the eyes, ears, and tongue is essential for taqwa, avoiding unnecessary gossip, harmful content, or lustful sights is not restriction, it is preservation. Ramadan gives a unique opportunity to practice this discipline because the body is already restrained. The mind and heart can follow suit. Practical steps from the Sunnah can help. Prophet would often say, whoever believes in Allah and the last day should speak good or remain silent, applying this daily before reacting. Speaking or even thinking helps the heart stay clean. Similarly, Dhikr, even in small doses, strengthens the inner shield. Repeating phrases like Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, or La ilaha illallah throughout the day creates a constant spiritual reminder and gradually reshapes desires. Another key practice is self-reflection. The companions used to end their nights with sincere self-accounting muhasabah. What did I do today? Where did I falter? What can I improve tomorrow? Ramadan encourages us to adopt this, transforming fleeting awareness into permanent mindfulness. Finally, sincerity is non-negotiable. Actions without heart are like an empty shield. True taqwa is about inner vigilance, a heart attuned to Allah's presence, and a constant effort to steer away from sins even when no one is watching. This internal mastery is what protects the soul long after Ramadan ends. Guarding your heart is the ultimate weapon in achieving taqwa. It is subtle, internal, and requires dedication, but once mastered, it turns every moment of Ramadan into a fortress against temptation and a ladder to Allah's pleasure. The power of intentions, aligning every action with Allah. Ramadan teaches us that every deed, no matter how small, carries weight when performed with sincere intention. The Prophet said, actions are judged by intentions, and every person will get what they intended. This hadith is the cornerstone of taqwa, to protect ourselves from sins and distractions. We must start by clarifying our intentions. Every prayer, every fast, every act of charity should be for Allah alone. The companions of the Prophet were masters at this. Umar ibn al-Khattab once said, I fear that my heart will be distracted by this world. So I remind myself daily that I am a traveler passing through. They constantly evaluated their motivations, ensuring that their actions were pure, not tainted by pride, desire, or seeking recognition. In practical terms, this means pausing before each act. When you pray, ask yourself, am I praying to show off, or am I standing humbly before Allah? When you fast, reflect, am I restraining myself for Allah, or simply following tradition? This small mental check transforms routine acts into powerful tools for spiritual growth. Ulama emphasize that intentions shape the outcome. A fasting day performed with mere physical restraint is limited. A day fasted with the heart focused on Allah, aware of His presence, multiplies rewards beyond imagination. Similarly, giving charity, speaking kindly, or helping someone, if done with a sincere heart, becomes a means of shielding ourselves from the temptations of ego, envy, and greed. Ramadan provides a unique advantage. The body is already disciplined, making it easier to discipline the heart and mind. By consciously aligning intentions with divine guidance, we create a spiritual momentum that persists even after the month ends. Remember, intentions are invisible, yet their impact is profound. They act like a compass, guiding us away from sin and toward actions that earn Allah's pleasure. Even when surrounded by worldly distractions, a heart trained to check its intentions remains protected. So, as you move through Ramadan, let every act, big or small, be a deliberate step toward Taqwa. Guard your intentions, purify your motives, and watch how Allah transforms simple deeds into powerful shields against temptation, ultimately shaping a heart that naturally resists sin and gravitates toward goodness. Fasting beyond hunger, training the soul to obey. Most people think fasting in Ramadan is only about skipping food and drink, but the true essence goes much deeper. The Prophet said, "Fasting is a shield. This shield protects the believer not just from hunger, but from sins, temptations, and distractions that pull the heart away from Allah." Fasting is a training ground for the soul, teaching self-restraint, patience, and mindfulness. The companions of the Prophet understood this principle intuitively. They didn't just stop eating, they controlled their tongue, their gaze, and even their thoughts. Ali ibn Abi Talib was known to fast with complete consciousness, avoiding backbiting, anger, and unnecessary speech. This is what elevated fasting from a physical act to a spiritual discipline that strengthens taqwa. Ulama explain that fasting disciplines the inner self. Hunger acts as a reminder that our desires can be controlled. Every pang of thirst or hunger becomes an opportunity to say, "I am for Allah, not for my whims." When practiced sincerely, fasting develops mindfulness in all areas of life: what we speak, what we watch, what we think. It trains the heart to obey before the body, preparing us to resist sinful impulses effortlessly. Practical tips from the Sunnah can maximize this effect. The Prophet encouraged breaking the fast quickly with dates and water, then making dua, reflecting that every act in Ramadan is tied to intention. Engaging in extra prayers, Dhikr, and Quran recitation enhances the shield, transforming fasting into a complete spiritual package. Self-accounting, or muhasabah, is another key practice. At the end of each day, ask yourself, did I allow anger, envy, or arrogance to enter my heart? Did I speak kindly? Did I help others sincerely? These reflections reinforce taqwa, ensuring fasting is not only about physical abstinence, but also about moral and spiritual refinement. Ultimately, fasting teaches a powerful lesson. Obedience to Allah is a habit of the heart, not just a routine of the stomach. When the heart learns to follow divine guidance, the body naturally aligns and sins lose their grip. Ramadan becomes not a month of mere restriction, but a training ground for lifelong taqwa. Fasting beyond hunger is the secret path to guarding the soul. Every moment of self-control, every thought aligned with Allah, is a building block for Taqwa. It is a practice that reshapes not just the month, but the believer's entire life. The tongue's discipline: speak less, reflect more. In Ramadan, while fasting the body is obvious, the real challenge lies in controlling the tongue. The Prophet said, "Whoever believes in Allah and the last day should speak good or remain silent." Words have immense power. They can heal or harm, elevate or degrade. Guarding your speech is a direct path to Taqwa, because sins often enter through the tongue: gossip, lies, arrogance, or harsh words. The companions of the Prophet were exemplary in this regard. Abdullah ibn Madid would pause before every word, asking himself, "Is this pleasing to Allah?" This mindfulness turned ordinary conversations into acts of worship. Even casual talk was an opportunity to practice patience, honesty, and humility. Ulama emphasized that the tongue is the first battlefield in self-discipline. A heart that controls its speech is shielded from anger, envy, and temptation. In Ramadan, when the body is restrained, the tongue must follow, avoiding idle talk, unnecessary debates, or sarcastic remarks keeps the heart clean and strengthens spiritual awareness. Practical steps from the Sunnah make this manageable. Engage in Dhikr, Quran recitation, and sincere dua. These acts redirect the tongue from worldly chatter toward remembrance of Allah. When you feel the urge to criticize or complain, pause, breathe, and reflect. Is this moment worth my taqwa? Simple practices like lowering your gaze during conversations, listening more than speaking, and responding politely even in challenging situations train the tongue and protect the heart. Self-reflection also matters. Each night, evaluate your speech. Did I speak harshly? Did I gossip or slander? Did I lie? If yes, seek forgiveness and make a firm intention to improve tomorrow. Ramadan is a reset button for both body and speech, allowing the tongue to align with divine guidance. The power of controlled speech cannot be underestimated. Every word spoken in mindfulness is a brick in the foundation of taqwa. While reckless speech can dismantle years of spiritual effort, guarding the tongue creates a ripple effect. Thoughts become purer, interactions become sincere, and the heart grows closer to Allah. Discipline of the tongue transforms Ramadan into a sanctuary for the soul. By speaking less and reflecting more, the believer builds resilience against sins, cultivates mindfulness, and experiences the true essence of taqwa. The eyes as gates, guarding what you see. When we think of sin, we often focus on actions, but the eyes are the first gateways to the heart. The Prophet warned, the eyes commit adultery, and their adultery is the gaze. In Ramadan, controlling the gaze is crucial because what we see can spark desires, anger, or envy. Guarding the eyes is not merely about avoiding forbidden sights. It is about protecting the heart and strengthening taqwa. The companions of the Prophet were vigilant about this. Ali ibn Abi Talib was known to lower his gaze constantly, even in ordinary situations. He understood that every glance could either purify the soul or plant a seed of temptation. The heart is fragile, and the eyes are its first line of defense. Ulama teach that the gaze is deeply connected to intention. Seeing something sinful can be the first step toward an undesired action. But a mindful believer uses the eyes as a shield, looking only at what is halal, respectful, and beneficial. Ramadan is the perfect time to practice this because the body is already in restraint, making it easier to discipline the senses. Practical Sunnah tips make this achievable. Lower your gaze in public, avoid unnecessary exposure to tempting media, and focus on reading Quran, watching Islamic lectures, or observing nature with gratitude. Simple daily habits like covering oneself modestly, avoiding idle scrolling, or turning away from provocative content strengthen both self-control and inner peace. Self-accounting is critical. Ask yourself each night, did I guard my eyes today? Did I let curiosity or desire take over? If yes, repent sincerely and make a stronger intention tomorrow. Even small victories over the gaze accumulate, creating a disciplined heart capable of resisting larger temptations. Guarding the eyes is not restriction, it is empowerment. Each mindful glance reinforces self-control, purifies intentions, and keeps the heart aligned with Allah's guidance. The eyes, when disciplined, become allies in taqwa rather than conduits of sin. In Ramadan, the power of the gaze becomes clear. By consciously controlling what you see, you protect your heart, cultivate inner awareness, and fortify your spiritual resilience. The eyes, after all, are the windows to the soul, and what we allow in shapes the purity of our entire being. The ears guard, listening with purpose. Our ears are powerful gateways, often overlooked in the pursuit of taqwa. What we hear shapes our thoughts, emotions, and ultimately our actions. The Prophet said, "Whoever believes in Allah and the last day should speak good or remain silent," implying that what enters the mind through sound can influence both speech and behavior. In Ramadan, protecting the ears is as vital as guarding the tongue or gaze. The companions of the Prophet were acutely aware of this. Abu Hurairah would avoid idle talk and noisy gatherings where gossip, lies, or immoral speech circulated. They understood that the ears could plant seeds of sin if left unchecked. Listening to harmful content weakens self-control, while mindful listening strengthens the heart and builds taqwa. Ulama explain that the ears are a direct link to the heart. Hearing improper speech, music that stirs desire, or gossip triggers emotions and thoughts that can lead to disobedience. Ramadan offers a unique opportunity. When the body is disciplined, the mind can also be trained to filter what it absorbs. Practical steps from the Sunnah can help. Listen to Quran recitation, beneficial lectures, or reminders of Allah. Avoid idle chatter, slander, or anything that stirs negativity. Even subtle practices muting unnecessary media, politely excusing yourself from inappropriate conversations, and choosing uplifting content protect the ears and fortify spiritual strength. Self-reflection at night is essential. Ask yourself, did I allow harmful words to enter my ears today? Did I listen with awareness, or let the mind wander into sinful indulgence? Repent where necessary, and resolve to be more selective tomorrow. Over time, this discipline sharpens focus, calms the heart, and strengthens mindfulness. Guarding the ears is not about restriction, it is about empowerment. Listening with purpose cultivates inner peace, filters negativity, and reinforces the heart's alignment with Allah's guidance. silence. Every sound we absorb either pulls us closer to Taqwa or drifts us away. In Ramadan, disciplined hearing transforms ordinary interactions into acts of worship. It shapes the mind, protects the heart, and builds a fortress of self-control. By consciously choosing what we listen to, we not only preserve Taqwa, but also develop a heightened awareness of every action, thought, and word, laying a foundation for a lifetime of spiritual resilience. The mind's arena, mastering thoughts in Ramadan. Taqwa is not just about controlling actions, it begins in the mind. The Prophet said, "A good thought is charity." Every moment, our minds are flooded with ideas, desires, and temptations. If left unchecked, these thoughts can lead to sin, even if our actions seem outwardly correct. Ramadan is the perfect training ground to master the mind, because the body is disciplined, creating space for mental and spiritual growth. The companions of the Prophet were pioneers in mental discipline. They would constantly monitor their thoughts, correcting fleeting impulses before they became actions. Umar ibn al-Khattab often reminded himself, "The heart is a fortress. Guard it, for once it falls, the rest follows." By controlling the mind, they shielded the heart and actions from sin, building an unshakable spiritual resilience. Ulama explained that thoughts are the first battlefield for Taqwa. Negative ideas, envy, arrogance, lust, anger can take root quickly if the mind is left unmonitored. But Ramadan teaches awareness and restraint. Every pang of hunger or desire becomes an opportunity to train the mind to pause, reflect, and realign with Allah's guidance. Practical steps are simple but powerful. Engage in Dhikr and Quran recitation to fill the mind with positivity. Pause before reacting to thoughts. Ask yourself, does this align with Taqwa? Will this please Allah? Replace idle or harmful thinking with beneficial reflections on gratitude, mercy, and forgiveness. Journaling or nightly self-accounting muhasabah helps track progress and strengthens mental discipline. The Prophet also emphasized the importance of surrounding oneself with reminders of Allah, positive company, uplifting talks, and beneficial media. Protect the mind from harmful thoughts. Avoid environments that provoke anger, jealousy, or lust. In Ramadan, these measures are amplified because the heart is more sensitive and responsive to spiritual training. Mastering the mind transforms every aspect of life. Thoughts dictate speech, actions, and ultimately character. A disciplined mind prevents sin before it, manifests outwardly, and nurtures sincere devotion. Ramadan is not just a month of fasting, it is a mental and spiritual boot camp, shaping thoughts to serve Taqwa. By guarding your mind, you strengthen the fortress of the heart, control the tongue, manage the gaze, and fortify every action. Master your thoughts, and the rest of your spiritual journey becomes far more attainable. The mind, after all, is the first step toward lifelong Taqwa. The night's blessing, harnessing Qiyam for Taqwa. Ramadan nights hold a special secret for those seeking Taqwa. The Prophet said, "The best prayer after the obligatory prayers is the night prayer. These quiet hours, when the world sleeps, are a unique opportunity to strengthen the heart, purify intentions, and draw closer to Allah." Night prayer, or Qiyam, is not just an act of devotion. It is a training ground for self-discipline and spiritual resilience. The companions of the Prophet embraced the night for worship with unmatched dedication. Abdullah ibn Umar would pray at night consistently, reciting Quran slowly, reflecting on its meanings, and making heartfelt dua. These moments were transformative, shaping their taqwa and deepening their awareness of Allah's presence. Ulama highlight that Qiyam is a shield against sin. When the heart is immersed in nightly worship, desires lose their grip. The mind becomes calmer, the tongue more mindful, and the eyes more restrained. This disciplined routine trains the believer to resist temptation even during daylight, reinforcing the lessons of fasting and self-control. Practical guidance from the Sunnah is simple. Begin with a few rakas, focusing on sincerity over quantity. Recite Quran slowly, ponder its meanings, and make dua for guidance and forgiveness. Even a brief night prayer consistently performed is better than long, distracted worship. Pair this with dhikr and gratitude for the day, and the heart becomes a fortress of taqwa. Nighttime reflection also encourages self-accounting. Ask, did I control my actions, speech, and thoughts today? Did I stay conscious of Allah's presence? Where did I falter, and how can I improve tomorrow? These nightly assessments strengthen mindfulness, making taqwa an integral part of life rather than a temporary practice. The beauty of Qiyam lies in its intimacy with Allah. It is a private conversation between the believer and the Creator, free from worldly distractions. This connection purifies intentions, strengthens resolve, and empowers the heart to resist sin. Ramadan amplifies this effect as the entire month trains the soul for obedience. By embracing the night for worship, the believer nurtures a heart attuned to Allah, transforming fasting into more than physical restraint. It becomes complete spiritual training. Qiyam is the bridge between intention and action, thought and behavior, and effort and divine reward. Every night spent in devotion builds the fortress of taqwa, preparing the soul for both this life and the hereafter. Charity of the heart, purifying wealth and soul. Ramadan is the month of generosity. Where taqwa goes beyond merely giving money, it begins in the heart. The Prophet said, charity does not decrease wealth, rather it increases it. Giving sincerely for the sake of Allah is not just an act of kindness. It is a shield against greed, selfishness, and attachment to worldly possessions. Charity trains the heart, shapes intentions, and strengthens spiritual awareness. The companions of the Prophet were masters of sincere giving. Uthman ibn Affan would quietly distribute wealth, ensuring that the act was purely for Allah's pleasure, without any desire for recognition. Their charity reflected a deep understanding that taqwa is nurtured when generosity flows from a heart aligned with divine guidance. Ulama explain that charity in Ramadan carries amplified rewards because the heart is already in a state of restraint and reflection. Giving purifies the soul, softens arrogance, and fosters empathy for those in need. Even small acts, feeding a neighbor, helping someone in difficulty, or offering a kind word count as charity when done with sincerity. Practical steps from the Sunnah are powerful. Calculate your zakat and give it promptly. Support those in need through sadaqah or fitr before Eid. Engage in acts of service. Even if it does not involve money, each action, however small, is a step toward purifying both wealth and heart. The key is intention. Every contribution should be a conscious effort to seek Allah's pleasure. Self-reflection strengthens this practice. Ask, did I give sincerely or for recognition? Did I overlook opportunities to help others? Did my heart cling to possessions unnecessarily? Ramadan provides the perfect environment to answer these questions honestly, transforming giving into a tool for taqwa rather than a routine duty. The beauty of charity is its ripple effect. It not only benefits the receiver, but also protects the giver from attachment, selfishness, and spiritual weakness. When the heart gives freely, it becomes resilient against envy, greed, and other sins, turning wealth into a vehicle for spiritual growth rather than distraction. By combining fasting, prayer, and charity, the believer in Ramadan builds a holistic taqwa heart disciplined, a mind focused, and actions aligned with divine guidance. Charity of the heart ensures that wealth serves the soul, making Ramadan a transformative month that goes far beyond physical abstinence to shape a life of conscious devotion and spiritual excellence. The company you keep, surrounding yourself with righteousness. Taqwa is not developed in isolation. The Prophet said, "A man is upon the religion of his close friend." So let one of you look at whom he befriends in Ramadan. The company you keep can either elevate your heart toward Allah or lead it astray. Guarding yourself from sins requires not only personal discipline, but also a supportive, righteous environment. The companions of the Prophet were careful about their associations. Abu Bakr chose friends who reminded him of Allah, who encouraged good deeds, and who refrained from gossip and sinful behavior. Surrounding oneself with such company created a natural shield against temptation, making taqwa easier to practice. Ulama explain that human beings are social creatures. Habits, speech, and even thoughts are influenced by those around us. In Ramadan, when the heart is more receptive, choosing friends who prioritize worship, reflection, and self-discipline magnifies the effects of fasting, prayer, and charity. Conversely, company that encourages laziness, gossip, or indulgence can weaken spiritual resolve and make the heart vulnerable to sin. Practical steps are simple but impactful. Seek companionship with those who remind you of Allah. Attend circles of knowledge. Participate in community service. And engage in acts of worship together. Limit exposure to toxic influences, negative talk, or frivolous entertainment that distracts from spiritual growth. Even small adjustments in social habits can make a significant difference in developing taqwa. Self-reflection is key. Ask yourself, who inspires me to draw closer to Allah? Whose influence leads me away from sin? Am I contributing positively to the circle I am in? Or am I absorbing harmful habits? Ramadan provides the perfect moment to evaluate these questions and take conscious action. The right company strengthens every aspect of spiritual discipline: speech, thought, intention, and action. It supports mindfulness, encourages perseverance, and makes worship more meaningful. Surrounding yourself with righteousness creates an environment where taqwa is nurtured naturally, rather than forced artificially. In Ramadan, the friends and mentors You choose act as a protective barrier and a source of motivation. They amplify the effects of fasting, prayer, charity, and reflection, turning personal discipline into a shared journey of spiritual excellence. Remember, Taqwa thrives where hearts are united in sincerity and devotion, and the right company is the key to sustaining it long after Ramadan ends. The power of dua, calling Allah closer. Taqwa is nurtured not only through action, but also through connection. The Prophet said, dua is the essence of worship. In Ramadan, dua becomes a powerful tool to protect the heart from sin and to draw closer to Allah. It is a direct conversation with the Creator, a way to cleanse the soul, clarify intentions, and strengthen resolve against temptation. The companions of the Prophet understood this deeply. They made dua consistently, not just in moments of need, but as a daily practice of reliance on Allah. Uthman Ibn Affan Ra and Aisha Ra would invoke Allah for guidance, protection, and steadfastness. They recognized that no matter how disciplined the body, the heart remains vulnerable without constant spiritual support. Ulama explain that dua in Ramadan is particularly potent because the month is a period of heightened mercy and acceptance. Every fasting hour, every prayer, every act of charity becomes a channel for Allah's favor. Dua aligns the heart with divine guidance, purifies intentions, and acts as a shield against worldly temptations. Practical steps are simple but transformative. Make dua in sujud, at iftar, during qiyam, and in quiet moments of reflection. Speak from the heart, using your own words alongside the prophetic duas. Ask for guidance, protection, and steadfastness, and for the strength to resist sin. Repeat phrases like, O Allah, keep my heart mindful, my tongue honest, my eyes pure. These focused invocations build awareness and taqwa from within. Self-reflection enhances the impact. Ask yourself, did I truly rely on Allah today? Did I remember Him in my actions, words, and thoughts? Ramadan is an opportunity to develop the habit of turning to Allah in every situation, joy, challenge, or temptation. The power of dua lies in its immediacy and sincerity. It bridges the gap between intention and action, strengthens inner vigilance, and nurtures a heart that naturally resists sin. It creates a spiritual dialogue that reminds the believer of Allah's presence in every moment. In Ramadan, cultivating dua transforms routine worship into intimate, protective practice. Every sincere call to Allah becomes a step toward taqwa, a reinforcement of self-discipline, and a source of inner peace. With dua, the heart is never alone. The mind remains focused, and the soul stands guarded against sin, building a foundation of faith that lasts far beyond Ramadan. Self-accountability, reflecting before sleeping. Taqwa is cultivated through consistent reflection, and Ramadan offers the perfect framework for this. The Prophet taught the companions the practice of muhasabah, self-accounting, examining one's actions, words, and thoughts daily. This nightly reflection is a powerful tool to safeguard the heart from sin and to align intentions with Allah's guidance. The companions of the Prophet were masters of self-accounting. Abdullah ibn Madid Ra would end each day by reviewing his actions. Did he speak kindly? Did he control his anger? Did he guard his eyes and tongue? These nightly habits instilled discipline, sharpened mindfulness, and reinforced taqwa, making every day a spiritual checkpoint. Ulama emphasize that without reflection, even fasting, prayer, and charity may lose depth. The heart must evaluate itself regularly. Ramadan provides the perfect environment because the body is restrained and the soul is more attuned to spiritual growth. Nightly self-accounting transforms ordinary deeds into conscious acts of devotion, enhancing every aspect of worship. Practical steps for self-accounting are simple. Before sleeping, take a quiet moment to review the day. Ask yourself, did I resist temptation? Did I act with sincerity? Did I uphold honesty, patience, and humility? Identify areas of weakness, seek forgiveness from Allah, and make a clear intention to improve tomorrow. Journaling can also help track patterns and reinforce accountability over time. The process is not about guilt, but about growth. The Prophet modeled this by encouraging honest self-evaluation and continuous improvement. Recognizing mistakes is not failure, it is an opportunity to refine character and strengthen taqwa. Each day's reflection serves as a guide, keeping the heart aligned with divine guidance and away from the distractions of the world. Nightly self-accounting also enhances mindfulness throughout the day. When a believer knows they will reflect on their actions, every word, thought, and deed becomes more intentional. Fasting, prayer, charity, and even simple interactions gain deeper meaning as the heart is constantly monitored and corrected. In Ramadan, self-accounting is the secret ingredient that turns discipline into inner mastery. It strengthens the heart, sharpens awareness, and ensures that taqwa is not limited to rituals, but becomes a lived reality. By reflecting each night, the believer builds a foundation for lasting spiritual growth, cultivating a heart that naturally resists sin and remains steadfast in obedience to Allah, patience in action, building resilience against sin. Taqwa is deeply connected to patience. The Prophet said, "Fasting is a shield, and patience is its essence." Ramadan is the ultimate training ground for patience, not only with hunger and thirst, but also with anger, temptation, and desires. True taqwa is revealed in how we respond to life's challenges, and patience strengthens the heart to resist sin. The companions of the Prophet were exemplars of patience. Bilal ibn Rabah endured hardship, persecution, and hunger with unwavering faith. His patience was not passive, it was an active choice to align his actions with Allah's guidance, regardless of external circumstances. This resilience allowed him to guard his heart against sin and remain steadfast in devotion. Ulama highlight that patience is both preventive and proactive. It prevents hasty actions, harsh words, and succumbing to temptation. It also empowers the believer to choose the right path deliberately, even when distractions or desires are strong. Ramadan magnifies this opportunity because the body is restrained, creating space to practice patience with intention and awareness. Practical steps to cultivate patience in Ramadan include conscious breathing and reflection before reacting to frustration or anger. Remind yourself that every moment of restraint is a building block of taqwa. Embrace challenges, Whether long work days, family disagreements, or personal temptations as chances to exercise patience, incorporate dhikr and dua to strengthen your resolve, asking Allah to grant steadfastness in thought, speech, and action. Self-accounting is also key. Reflect each night. Did I lose my temper? Did I act impulsively? Where could I have been more patient? Ramadan encourages honest assessment, allowing the believer to correct course and improve consistently. Patience transforms fasting into a holistic spiritual discipline. It trains the mind to pause, the tongue to refrain, and the heart to align with Allah's commands. By practicing patience, the believer builds resilience not only during Ramadan but also for the challenges beyond. Ultimately, Taqwa thrives where patience reigns. Every act of restraint, every controlled reaction, and every deliberate choice strengthens the shield of the heart against sin. Ramadan is more than abstinence. It is a comprehensive training in patience, turning everyday trials into opportunities to grow closer to Allah and fortify the soul against worldly distractions. Gratitude as armor, protecting the heart from negativity. Taqwa is strengthened when the heart is filled with gratitude. The Prophet said, "He who does not thank people does not thank Allah." Ramadan is the perfect time to cultivate gratitude not just for food and blessings, but for guidance, health, faith, and every opportunity to draw closer to Allah. Gratitude acts as armor, protecting the heart from envy, arrogance, and discontent, which are gateways to sin. The companions of the Prophet practiced gratitude consistently. Uthman ibn Affan would often reflect on Allah's favors, reminding himself that every blessing, no matter how small, was a gift. This awareness shaped their hearts, keeping them humble, content, and resilient against temptation. Gratitude was not merely a feeling, it was a conscious practice, embedded in every action. Ulama emphasize that gratitude reshapes perception. A heart immersed in thankfulness naturally resists negative impulses. Envy fades, impatience softens, and arrogance diminishes. Ramadan, with its focus on fasting and reflection, provides the perfect environment for the heart to recognize its dependence on Allah and develop a mindset of constant appreciation. Practical steps include daily reflection on blessings, your health, family, wealth, faith, and opportunities to do good. Make dhikr of Alhamdulillah throughout the day and express thanks in prayers and actions. Even small acts of gratitude, like smiling at others, helping someone in need, or acknowledging kindness, strengthen the heart and reinforce taqwa. Self-accounting enhances this practice. Each night, ask, did I recognize Allah's blessings today? Did I complain or focus on what I lack? Did I let jealousy or impatience take hold? By correcting these thoughts, the heart becomes a fertile ground for humility, contentment, and obedience. Gratitude also multiplies the rewards of Ramadan. Every act of worship, fasting, and charity becomes more meaningful when performed with a thankful heart. It shields the believer from sin by redirecting focus from desire to divine appreciation. In Ramadan, cultivating gratitude transforms challenges into opportunities, temptations into lessons, and ordinary acts into worship. It strengthens taqwa by aligning the heart with Allah's guidance, protecting it from negativity, and nurturing a mindset that embraces patience, humility, and devotion. Gratitude, truly, is the armor of the heart, a shield that keeps the soul pure and steadfast. Consistency over perfection. Small steps toward taqwa. Many believers strive for perfection in Ramadan, praying flawlessly, fasting without struggle, giving generously, but the Prophet emphasized consistency over perfection. He said, "The most beloved deeds to Allah are those done consistently, even if small." True taqwa is cultivated not in grand gestures, but in steady, deliberate actions that align the heart with Allah's guidance. The companions of the Prophet understood this principle intuitively. Abu Hurairah would perform small, regular acts of worship daily, knowing that lasting spiritual strength comes from continuity, not bursts of effort. Their hearts were protected from sin because they built habits that naturally reinforced discipline, mindfulness, and devotion. Ulama explain that consistency trains the soul. Fasting, prayer, charity, dhikr, and self-accounting, when practiced regularly, create an inner rhythm that strengthens taqwa. Irregular worship leaves gaps, making the heart vulnerable to desires and distraction. Ramadan is the ideal environment to establish these patterns, because the body and mind are already in heightened awareness and restraint. Practical steps include setting realistic goals. Pray all 5 daily prayers on time. Recite portions of the Quran daily. Give what you can in charity and engage in dhikr regularly. Even if you cannot perform extensive worship, small, consistent efforts carry immense reward and protect the heart from neglecting spiritual growth. Self-reflection supports consistency. Each night, ask, did I maintain my obligations today? Did I take small steps toward improvement? Did I act with sincerity? If gaps exist, plan to address them tomorrow. Over time, these small steps accumulate, transforming the heart and actions into a continuous pathway of taqwa. Consistency also combats spiritual fatigue. Attempting perfection can lead to frustration, discouragement, and eventual neglect. Small, sustained efforts, however, build resilience, patience, and mindfulness. The believer learns to integrate worship into daily life, making taqwa a living reality rather than a temporary surge of effort. In Ramadan, focusing on consistent devotion shapes both heart and habit. Every small act of obedience, repeated with intention, reinforces self-discipline, strengthens the shield against sin, and nurtures a heart attuned to Allah. Taqwa is not achieved overnight. It is the reward of persistent, mindful effort, where even small deeds become mighty tools for spiritual growth. Ramadan as a reset, carrying taqwa beyond the month. Ramadan is not just a month of fasting, it is a spiritual reset, an opportunity to cultivate habits, awareness, and resilience that shape a believer for life. The Prophet said, "Whoever fasts Ramadan with faith and seeking reward will have their past sins forgiven." Taqwa is not limited to the 29 or 30 days. It is the life-changing transformation that Ramadan initiates, guiding the heart long after the month ends. The companions of the Prophet were living examples of this principle. They carried the lessons of Ramadan discipline, patience, charity, sincerity, reflection throughout the year. Umar ibn al-Khattab exemplified consistency, remaining mindful of Allah in every action, word, and thought, demonstrating that taqwa achieved in Ramadan is a foundation, not a fleeting achievement. Ulama explain that the month acts as a training ground. Every act of worship, every moment of restraint, every prayer, dua, or charitable act is a practice session for the soul. Ramadan teaches the believer to control desires, purify intentions, guard the senses, and maintain awareness of Allah. If these lessons are internalized, the heart remains fortified against sin beyond the fasting month. Practical steps to carry taqwa forward include continuing routines developed during Ramadan. Maintain daily prayers on time. Allocate moments for Quran recitation and reflection. Engage in dhikr and practice gratitude consistently. Self-accounting should not end with Ramadan. Nightly reflection keeps the heart aligned, while conscious intention in all actions ensures that taqwa is a lifestyle, not a temporary effort. Consistency, mindfulness, and sincerity are key. The heart trained in Ramadan naturally resists sin, controls impulses, and seeks Allah's pleasure in every situation. The practices of Ramadan fasting, charity, patience, controlling the tongue, gaze, and ears become habits that sustain spiritual growth throughout the year. Finally, remember that taqwa is a journey, not a destination. Ramadan provides the blueprint, but the effort must continue. Carry the lessons forward, strengthen your intentions, and act with awareness in every aspect of life. By doing so, the spiritual transformation of Ramadan becomes permanent. A heart that resists sin, a mind that reflects, and a soul that continually seeks closeness to Allah. Ramadan ends, but taqwa lasts. Every moment of discipline, worship, and reflection builds a legacy of faith that protects the heart, refines character, and ensures that the month's blessings ripple throughout the believer's entire life.